Hey guys, it's time for chapter 4 in our Mesoamerica unit. So, last time we talked about the Aztec community and how they started. Remember, the sun god told them, when you find an eagle eating a snake sitting on a cactus, that is where you will start your civilization. So, now we're going to move on and learn a little bit more about their actual city and what was going on there. So, what does the description of Tays reveal about the Aztec civilization? Remember, I am shortening this word. I am terrible. I can't remember how to say it. I can't pronounce it. So I just call it Tays because instead of 10, they say Tay. So just be aware that that's how I'm pronouncing it, okay? So that's our big question. But then we only have one review question afterwards, and it is, what was built so the Aztec could move around in Tays, okay? So we're going to talk about what they built through their city that helped them get from one point to another. All right. Tays, the city of wonder, a lakeside paradise. So the first Europeans who came to America did not expect to find a great civilization. Imagine how surprised they must have been when they came upon the city of Tays with its towering pyramids, its population of probably 200,000. Okay? Tays was more than the heart of a great civilization. It was unlike anything the Europeans had ever seen. The city was built on an island in the middle of a lake. Three wide causeways connected the city to the mainland. A network of canals linked different parts of the city. The Aztec traveled around their capital in canoes. So, just from right there, a causeway. So, a causeway is a raised road that's built over water to connect islands and mainland. So, they look like just long stretches of road that cut through the water, and they're above the water to make it so they can get back and forth from the mainland to their islands in the middle of the lake. And then a canal is a channel dug by hands used by boats or for irrigation. And irrigation is the watering of plants. Imagine that you have hopped into a canoe to tour Tay as it was in the early 1500s. First, you see the gardens on raised beds built on Lake Tehico. The Aztecs created these gardens by digging up mud from the bottom of the lake and piling it up in shallow areas. Then they shaped the piles into long, narrow gardens. The gardens were surrounded by water, so they stayed moist, meaning that they stayed wet. They didn't have to really water them because they were surrounded by water. The water was sucked in through the ground and it helped those plants grow. The Aztecs also kept the soil fertile by scooping new mud into the gardens every year. The rich soil was perfect for growing corn, squash, and beans. Aztec home of life. As you glide toward. Oh, wait. So, this is part of our big question, right? So, our big question was what does the description of Tays reveal about the Inca or the Aztec civilization, okay? So, what does this reveal about them? They knew how to garden, okay? So that'll be something that we'll come back to, is that they know how to garden and keep food in their mouths. As you glide toward the center of Tay, you see Aztec men dressed in loincloths and cloaks. Women wear long skirts, blouses, and ponchos. You also see hundreds of one-room houses with thatched roof and mud walls. One side, you meet a girl who is learning to weave from her mother. A few houses away, mothers and daughters are preparing for a wedding feast. During the wedding ceremony, the bride's blouse will be tied to the groom's cloak. This tie together is a symbol of the connection between a husband and wife. So today we don't tie our shirts together, do we, when we get married? Nope. We usually just exchange rings. All right, the suburbs and schools. You also visit an Aztec school. There, boys receive moral instructions, rules about the wrong and right ways to behave. They also learn military drills. The boys practice with miniature weapons. They throw spears and carry special wooden clubs studded with sharp pieces of natural glass-like rock. A visit to the school for the sons of Aztec nobles turns out to be a hair-raising experience. You quickly realize that the teachers in the school are Aztec priests. You had some tough teachers over the years, but you've never had one who paints his face black, did not wash his hair for religious reasons, and perform human sacrifices. So remember, we talked about that last time. The priest performed human sacrifices, okay? The priests train their students to become priests and scribes. So a scribe is a person whose job is to copy written information. Students study Aztec religion and astronomy and learn how to read and write Aztec hieroglyphs. They also learn how to record information in a special kind of book called a codex. This is a long strip of tree bark that folds up like an accordion. The pages of the codex are covered with pictures and pictograms. The priest explains that the codices are used to keep lists of rulers, to record payments made by conquered people, and to keep track of religious holidays. So a codex is just written. It's stuff that's written. And then pictograms are just like hieroglyphs, but they're, instead of being carved in, they are drawn or written. Okay, yep. Marketplace. The next stop on your tour is the Central Marketplace. Here, people trade cocoa, or chocolate beans, and cotton blankets for other items. The sounds of thousands of Aztec people trading creates a ruckus that can be heard a mile away. In one corner of the market, a man is trading rabbits, deers, and small dogs that are bred for food. Across the way, a woman displays pottery. You notice all sorts of other goods, including sandals, feathers, seashells, turkeys, wood, corn, bananas, pineapples, honeycombs, and fabrics. It's a lot that they were selling at these markets. One section of the market is set aside for trading enslaved people. Here you see human beings with wooden collars around their necks. Noblemen mill around them, inspecting them. So just like in the United States, they also had slaves. Their slaves would be from people who they conquered or criminals. So here's just a picture of a marketplace, and you can see over here, it looks like they're trading some fabrics. Someone's bringing some stuff in on a canoe. And then you can see different little venues or little market homes, okay? The Ceremonial Center. In the heart of the city is a ceremonial center. Here you find the largest temple in the city, the Great Temple. This massive pyramid is almost 100 yards wide at its base. It's roughly the length of a football field. It rises almost 90 feet in the air. The top steps are stained with blood of human sacrifices. Surrounding the Great Temple are several smaller temples. Each of these is dedicated to a different god. Not far from these religious buildings stands the palace of the Aztec emperor. You will have to admire the palace from an outside, though. Commoners are not allowed to enter. The palace has hundreds of rooms and more than 1,000 servants. So, you and I would not be allowed to enter this building. We are not royalty. We are not a priest. We are not someone high up in the order. We would be known as just commoners. Now, servants are allowed in, but that is to clean and make sure that the priests have everything that they need. Moctezuma, sometimes written as Montezuma, was the Aztec emperor in the early 1500s. In the court of Moctezuma II, no one was allowed to look the emperor in the eye. When he entered the room, even the new nobles threw themselves face down to the ground. When he left the palace, he was carried in a fancy litter. When Moctezuma wanted to walk, nobles laid mats on the ground so he did not dirty his golden sandals. So, really quick, a litter. We hear litter in a couple different ways. We might hear it as a litter of kittens or kitty litter, but this is not what that means. Litter in this sense means a chair attached to two beams and carried on the shoulders of several people. I will show you a picture of a litter in our next chapter. Montezuma was a powerful leader, but during his reign, some disturbing things were happening. There was a drought. A comet appeared in the sky. Lightning struck one of the temples in Tays. Fantastic rumors began to spread. Some people said that a ghostly woman was walking the streets of the capital at night. She wailed, "My children, you must flee far from this city." The Aztec believed the world might end at any moment. So just a quick reminder, remember in our last chapter we talked about how the Aztecs believed that we had already lived through 4 suns and we were living through the 5th sun and that the world could end at any moment. Montezuma and his priests worried that the strange events might be a warning from the gods. They feared that the end of the world might be near. As it turned out, a form of doomsday was coming, but it was not coming from the gods. It was coming from across the Atlantic Ocean. Spanish soldiers were sailing from Europe in search of riches and glory. In the final chapter, you will learn what the arrival of these pale-skinned men meant to the mighty Aztec Empire. All right, that is it for chapter 4. Next time we'll talk about the Incas, which has some of my favorite animals in it, and food. But for right now, let's go over our questions really quick, okay? So remember, I will always post a picture of the notes and what your notes should look like. But you are also more than welcome to rewatch the video and take notes as I'm reading again to you, okay? But the last question was, what was built so the Aztecs could move around in Tays? Remember, they built canals in which they would use canoes to get around their city. All right, that is it for this lesson, and I will see you guys back for chapter 5.